Good evening, my friends, family, Phoenixes. This is Cassandra, and welcome to another episode of Couch Time with Cassie. I hope everybody's doing okay. I just want to take a second and check in before I actually get into what I wanted to talk about today. So, how are you doing? Yeah, sounds about right. It's been rough for me too. I know it's easier to assume that everybody's doing great, but that's really not usually the case. Otherwise, many of us wouldn't have anything to do, especially if you're in the coaching, mental health, or social work or consulting field. Um, and that's kind of why we get driven to this purpose to help each other, right? So it's been a rough season. It's been a rough year, and not just for myself, for others. And I feel like that's part of the reason it's even more difficult for me, because I can see other people who are also struggling, other people who are also, having a difficult time. But part of what inspires me is to see, the people that I know, friends, family, coworkers, whoever it is, having these struggles, and they're still getting up, day after day. It might be a mom who's having a difficult time but still finds a way to create these amazing experiences for her children. It could be, a guy who's, waiting for something to change in his life, and it's taking longer than he'd like, but he's still getting up every day and, putting forth the effort. It's, seeing people still pushing and still propelling forward to make sure, each day is better than the last. So I just want to take a moment and celebrate you all. Those of us who are still fighting, those of us who have been on the Strong Warriors list for too many years. And despite our pleas to get off the list, you just kind of still on that list. So the support group will be meeting shortly. So thank you all for staying in the fight with me. So tonight I want to talk about going from disappointment to momentum. I know it's not my usual happier subject matter, but it's real, and I feel like it's what a lot of people may be going through right now as the year is coming to an end, and you start reflecting and looking back to see, what have I achieved? What did I set out with? This might be the time of year you start pulling out those resolutions and those goals that you set in January, and now you're revisiting them and saying, what have I done with this year? Because now there's only a few weeks left. And unfortunately, with this year, I feel like a lot of people may be coming up short on that list, where you may have set out with all the best of intentions. You may have set it out really excited and gung ho and ready to have this amazing year, and that's not what you got. And through no fault of your own, your year fell short, and you're left with this disappointment, this ache, um, this sadness, really, that kind of it's kind of hit you back. It can really kind of knock you down a little bit. Um, and what do you do with that? So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Um, Dealing with that disappointment. The first bit of advice I want to give is to acknowledge it. I'm not a fan of toxic positivity, where it's just like, yeah, we can do this, and no. Or even if you're a person of faith, start ripping out those scriptures and just, yeah, that's not necessarily helpful either. It's essential to acknowledge what you are feeling. And what you're feeling is disappointment. It may be frustration. It may be a level of sadness. And it's so important to acknowledge those feelings, because if you don't acknowledge them, they'll find a way to come out, and they'll find a way to show up. And they usually show up at the most inopportune moment, at the most inappropriate times. So I'm always an advocate of dealing with your feelings, dealing with whatever it is that's going on inside, acknowledge it, address it. Otherwise, it's going to get your attention one way or the other. It may be stress starting to take its toll on your body, where you're getting aches and pains and inflammation in your joints, and your digestion may be out of whack, or your anxiety level goes through the roof. These sometimes are different things, different ways your body tends to react when you may not be addressing some emotional things that you're dealing with. So, first rule is to acknowledge how you feel and feel it. Allow yourself to feel those feelings. Now, we're not talking about wallowing, because though we're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, we're not moving into the valley and pitching a tent. We're not setting up our life to stay there. But you're going through that valley, and we're going through it together sometimes. So it's so important to acknowledge those feelings and address them. What you want to do is make sure you're processing them in a healthy way. That may mean getting a therapist. If you feel it's a short-term thing, or you have a copay that you may not want to deal with, you can reach out to your company's EAP. For those of us who are fortunate enough to have, good health insurance, your company may have EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program, where they have mental health services or coaching services that you can reach out to, and there's no copay associated with it. It's not going through insurance, it's just there, but it's just usually short term, where you may get like 6 sessions. So if it's like something quick and easy that you just need to process for this time, that's a really good opportunity to take advantage of it. And you save money because there's no copay to use the EAP services. So definitely process those feelings so that you can unload them and move on. The next step would be to identify what's working. And I'm starting with what's working, because sometimes you get into what's not working and you become completely blind to what is actually working. So I would definitely encourage you to identify what is working first and take the time to celebrate those. We have a tendency, if you're anything like me, to gloss over the good stuff and then just kind of focus on the bad stuff, or something good happens and it's just like, okay, what's next? Take the time to celebrate the elements of what you implemented throughout the year that actually is working and that did work or did bring you some joy, or whatever it is. If you started journaling and you find that you feel better, or you started working out and you may have lost half a pound, whatever it is, take the time to celebrate and enjoy those pieces. Okay, now we can get to what's not working. And we're going to that with a reflective, grace-centered manner. It's not to beat yourself up. It's just to kind of reflect and find a new strategy. You are trying something new, and now it's time to assess it. You're going to PDSA cycle your life. We're going to see what's working and what isn't. And realize this: there's more than one way to get from point A to point B. So if you tried one way to achieve whatever your goal is and it didn't work, there's another way to get there. I'm not going to do the whole Thomas Edison quote, because I think we all know it by heart by now. We just kind of have to live it out. So you tried one way to get to where you're going, and now you have to find out what's the next way to try it. So like if you're on a weight loss journey, if you try dieting this year and it didn't, give you the gains that you wanted, now you may try cardio, or you may try strength training instead. There's more than one way to get to where you're trying to go. So don't, just dismiss your goal because whatever you tried didn't work. Do your assessment and reevaluate your strategy. And now we refocus and we adjust. So you want to acknowledge where you fell short. And this is the tricky part, because this is the part where you have to hold yourself accountable. Did I really do my best? Was I consistent enough? Did I do everything I was supposed to do? Am I the reason why it didn't work? Sometimes the answer is yes. And you address that. This is by no means an opportunity to beat yourself up, but you address it and you make whatever adjustments you need to make. Yes, maybe I wasn't as consistent as I should have been, And I'm going to work on that. I'm going to get a planner. I'm going to get an accountability partner. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to do something that makes sure I give more of myself. I'm going to set a schedule to make sure I'm more successful in this endeavor on my next iteration or on the next strategy that I'm going to be using. So that's a big thing, and is not to beat yourself up, because then you can damage your confidence, which negatively impact your ability to succeed on the next go around. So you're going to review what you need to do, review what worked. You're going to cross out the stuff that didn't work. You're going to be accountable, and you're going to realign your goals. You may need to adjust them or tweak them a little bit. And then you're going to adjust your objectives and your timeline. And I always say this, if you've been to any of my goal setting workshops, set your goals in pencil. And I don't mean that literally, I mean it metaphorically, of course. So it means just set your goals and your timeline with a hint of grace, where you're giving yourself room for the things that will happen. And notice I didn't say may happen, because things will happen, and that's just a fact. So when you're setting your goals, please take that into account. That yes, you may have mapped everything out to the T, but stuff happens. And if you didn't give yourself enough breathing room, if things don't work out according to plan, you could end up feeling extra disappointed, extra discouraged, end up beating yourself up. So just give yourself a little breathing room. I'm not talking about slacking off, but set your goals with the expectation that things may not go according to plan, because they seldom do. And that's just the reality. You can plan as perfectly as you want. Things hardly ever go according to plan. But having a plan is still essential to getting you in the right direction. And, if things veer off course, then you can make some adjustments. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to reinvigorate those dreams, because I know sometimes when the discouragement sets in, you lose a lot of your energy, you lose a lot of your spark, you lose that initial, attitude that you have when you were, busting the gates wide open, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to do whatever. And sometimes that kind of fades away. So now that we have a new plan, a new strategy, we have our accountability partners, we've processed, we've cried, we've snotted, we've gone to therapy, we've got coach, we've got all that stuff ready, and now we're ready with a new plan. Now it's time to reinvigorate your energy. And big part of that is please making sure that your values are aligned with those goals. Whenever I talk about goal setting, I can't do it without talking about values. Your values need to be aligned with your goals, because if they're not, you can achieve global domination and still not be happy, because your goals aren't built on your values. So make sure your values are aligned with those goals. And as you go out, make sure that you are going forward with the mindset of everything you've learned from your first attempt. Not allowing the disappointment to take away from it, but allowing the disappointment or failures or areas or opportunities for growth to inform your next attempt. So you know what not to do and what to do. And now you're going forth a little bit wiser than you did on the first attempt. And now you're much more likely to succeed. So, this was my little spiel for today on how to go from, disappointment to momentum as you are winding down your year and getting ready for the new year. And my final, bit of advice is not to internalize this. Don't allow whatever it is you experience to be attributed to who you are as a person. It is not you who failed. The plan failed. It's not necessarily because of some defect or character flaw in you or whatever that it might be. There are so many contributing factors to why things did or didn't work out, but we have a tendency to just put it all on ourselves. And I just want to encourage you not to do that. And just to give yourself the space and the grace to grow and move forward with new enlightened eyes. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me on the couch, and I look forward to next time. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if you have any tidbits you'd like to share on how to handle, disappointment or goal setting, and how to, move yourself forward, because one of my mottos is we go further faster together. So I don't know everything and I don't know what I don't know. So if I miss something, please be kind enough to share so that we can all move forward together. I don't believe in creating like a mountain where there's one person on the top. I like a nice high plateau where there's room for all of us to succeed. And it's much better when you're succeeding with other people. That way you're not alone and, just lonely at the top, like they always say. So, anyway, thanks again, and I will speak to you next time on the couch. Take care.